his staff and himself are one of the senior writers of bills in the Senate, so that's great. As was mentioned, George, you want to come up? George is going to have a little question and answer session for the members and the executive committee, and he'll go ahead and handle the question.
Thank you. Hi, folks. Okay, once again, I think one of the important things, well, first of all, Mr. Larson has not showed up, and I don't think he's going to be able to make it. So we've got, yeah, gotcha. Okay, so definitely he will not be here, but we've got about 25 minutes left. What I want to do is open it up. I've had a couple of folks tell me already that they would like to have an opportunity to voice concerns or raise issues and just ask general questions. So what I wanted to do is go ahead and afford that to you at this point. However, we just want to be sure that we don't turn into a complete gripe session where folks are just venting for the sake of venting. Let's look for solutions. What we want to do is, I think the ultimate solution between you and me is vote him out of power. But until we get to that point, in the meantime, let's figure out, any questions that you might have of the board, of us, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, ma'am. You've got your hand raised. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I hope it's not your last.
Well, no. I've been trying to get here for a long time. I get all the emails, I just haven't gotten here. I wanted to know, as a board, do you have a priority list on what your goals will be for this year?
Gotcha. Good question. Ken, do we have a response for that? Ken is our chairman of the board, or president of the board, I'm not sure which.
Well, thank you. Well, our priority list of goals for this year are going to be to try to hold the incumbent office holders' feet to the fire on our core issues, which are limited government and fiscal responsibility. And there's a slew of issues then and bills and pending legislation that emanate from that. The SJR 15 that Senator Wentworth was speaking about clearly falls within that category, and that's something that we strongly, at least I think we should strongly support. And there are many bills on that basis that we're going to want to oppose, and we're going to want to get the budget both in Austin and in Washington under control. And so trying to keep track of what's going on both in the U.S. Congress and in the state legislature, but also in the regulatory bureaucracy, keeping an eye on regulatory proposals. For example, the APA's attempt to impose cap and trade through regulation. These are all things that we're going to have to be alert to and be sending out communications to people on the email list to communicate with your congressman, vote yes or vote no, or call these people and ask them what in the world is on their minds that they think they can impose a regulation imposing cap and trade.
And don't forget, if you go on the San Antonio Tea Party.us, you'll see a lot of there are assigned what they call tiger teams that are working on particular issues. And if you'll volunteer and get into those teams, and some of the teams are dealing with the debt, some of the teams are dealing with immigration. And that's your way to really, pitch in and get it going, because then they present their things to the board and to the executive committee. So that's really important.
Let me, real quick, if you can jot this down, let me give you my email. So that way, if we don't get your question today, you can send it to us, and I'll be more than glad to respond to you as quickly as I can. And I do it every evening. So my email is GROD, like dog, RI, 3615 at AOL.com. One more time, GROD, RI, 3615 at AOL.com. We want to be sure communication flows back and forth. Yes, sir, you had a question, and then we'll come back over here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you talked earlier about vacancies on the board and some other things that you need help with. Could you give us some more details about what that involves, what the positions are, maybe what the time commitment is, and et cetera, or any other thing else that you need?
Where's Sharon? Or Ken? Either one.
Yeah, if you want to do that, sir.
Well, I'll stay here. I'll stay here.
He's bashful.
Yeah, I don't have a list of all the jobs that are open right now, but we presented a chart, an organizational chart in the January meeting, and we had an executive, we had the board at the top, the executive committee, which is largely filled, and then underneath that, a whole slew of positions of vice presidents and people who are going to be responsible for various sorts of activities. Almost nothing below that line is filled at the moment, or at least very little of it. We need people who would be responsible for procuring a location for a meeting or an event, people who would be responsible for helping to set up, people who would be responsible for, I'm drawing a blank, but there's 1,000 things that we need people to be responsible for. And then we're also going to need people to be responsible for tracking issues. And I think one of the criticisms we got was that the chart, somebody said the chart did not indicate that anybody would be tracking issues. Well, it had a provision there for substantive issues, and that's what I meant that to be, but apparently it did not communicate that to people at large, and I apologize for that. We do need people to step forward who would say, I will keep track of any proposal to impose cap and trade, one way or another. I will keep track of any proposal to spending bills or immigration proposals or, whatever substantive are. I will be responsible for knowing what's proposed, what's pending, and where the legislation is in the legislative process so that we can alert people at critical junctures to respond yea or nay, depending upon the nature of the bill.
That goes back, go on the website, they have some of the charts, and they used to call them tiger teams, which is issue teams that handle the issues. But basically, when you start getting up towards the executive committee and the board, they take resumes on those positions. It's usually one-year terms. You had asked about the terms. It's usually a one-year term. I'm in the process of, as kind of a working in communications, I'm in the process of my 1-year, 3-year term right now. So, and Ray Wilkinson and some of the others, you kind of get wrapped up into it. You really get into it. And the teams really focus on an issue because there are so many things going on, and we said that earlier today. The president and his team are so active. I mean, they're hands-on right there with the teachers that are protesting right now. I mean, they were busing people in. So they're hands-on in everything that's going on. So it's real important that the teams, the people that run the Tiger teams or run the issue teams, as Ken was saying, keep an eye on just that issue. I mean, your eye's on that ball because you're the one that's reporting back to them to say, hey, we need to kick it up a notch on this. These guys are really getting close to this happening. So that's kind of how it's happened up to now, and that's where your help would really come in handy. Everybody's got something that really, cuts to the quick. It really gets them excited, and that's where we want you to pitch in.
Eric, do me a favor. Tell us when it's 5 minutes before 5 so we can wrap it up. Okay, hang on. She had a question ahead of time.
I'm not selling a book because I didn't write it. But we had the privilege of being at the caucus in Austin. And Debbie Riddle gave us a copy of her book. And I would really suggest that you get copies and read it. It doesn't take long. It's 88 pages. It is dynamite. Read it and pass it on to your daughters, your sisters, your brothers. It's a great book. Debbie Riddle. It's called Taking Back Your Country, Your Community, and Your Kids. Okay? By Debbie Riddle. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
We'll get the name of that and send it out to everybody. Okay. Yes, sir.
With Senator Hutchinson announcing her not running again in 2012 for senator, what is the Tea Party movement in Texas doing now to recruit and vet a viable conservative candidate to run in the primary. The jockeying's already starting. I don't know anything about Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst or the others named who keep floating to the top, but what is the Tea Party movement doing now to get in front of this and putting up a good candidate?
Gotcha. Well, as you know, Tea Parties are independent. There's various Tea Parties everywhere, all over the state. So each one is beginning to vent, or vet, should I say. Well, they're venting too. Are beginning to vet, candidates. We have not really begun that, although we are, identifying people per se, that we kind of like. But getting behind someone, we will not, as a Tea Party here in San Antonio, support a given party or candidate because of our affiliation with a 501c, 501c4. So we can't do that. However, we will be looking at the issues that each candidate is supporting. And those issues that are most in tune and most in step with what we support, those are the people that we will go with. What we are going to be doing more than looking for candidates, we're going to be pushing our issues to the forefront so that candidates will know what they need to talk to us about and what they need to be thinking about. Okay?
Sir, were you done? I'm sorry. Yeah.
George, thank you very much for standing up to be our new president. You're a good man. My name is Ronald Taylor. I'm the group leader of 8. I'm going to cheat a little bit. All people that's in zip code 78006, 015, 023, 0253. No, I'm sorry, 253, 254, 255, and 256. If any of you are in the group, give me a minute or two after the meeting. I got some open jobs for precinct chairs and elected judges that we need to get down at the precinct level, and you're the people who need to be there. Thank you, George.
Thank you. And what he mentioned was very, very important, folks. We want to be able to put people into precinct chairs all over the city so that way, our voice will be heard much more politically. All right.
A few months ago, someone had gotten together, I forget who, had gotten together some informal meetings. These are not the neighborhood meetings, but I'm talking about meeting at a restaurant. I remember some chocolate place that they went to. Do any of you remember that?
Right.
And it was mainly a fundraising thing. Too rich for me, a poor person. It was like $25. I would like to see maybe a return to that, if anybody could get that going. Meeting informally, like maybe having a few drinks, just talking about things. I just wanted to throw that out.
So if it's informal, folks, it's up to you to coalesce and come together. And we encourage people to talk. We encourage people to get together. We certainly encourage you to get to know your neighborhood group leaders so that you can get involved with them and you can reach out. And we certainly encourage everyone to go out and find a friend or find a family and bring them to our meetings.
I was at those meetings. I did a lot of the same thing I'm doing here. Basically, what I am is the guy to make sure we don't run over time, so I kind of give them the foot. I went to a lot of those informal meetings. They were very good. If you get an idea that you want one and you want somebody to come in that's kind of outside, I don't mind volunteering, and I know we have a couple other people to come in and help you move it along. That way, you get to the point. If you have a speaker or two or someone that comes in and wants to say something, that's fine. But basically, they're informal. There is money that's raised, and it came back. I think we did 3 to Chocolat Place and 2 others that we did. And they were all great. Pretty good turnouts. I think we averaged about 20, 25 people, which is great. And if you get one and you got in your area that you want to have one, then the Tea Party would support trying to get it out for you so that people would know what's going on. And of course, you just had the gentleman talking about the precincts and all. So that's real great. It's a good way to get it done.
I have one question. I think Robin had one too for you, Mr. President. over the past time, and I'm not going to go into the details why, there has been a serious, how may we say, trust issue between the general supporters and the San Antonio Tea Party. What will you do as the president of the executive committee to help rebuild that and show that we are that party that we were 2 years ago? And what can we do to help you in that cause?
For those folks that are here for the first time, you know, and I'm not sure how many of you, there has been some organizational problems in the past, as there are growing problems in all organizations. Anytime that an organization comes together, I mean, the history of the United States, when the first representatives of the colonies got together, it was not pretty, it was not fun. They struggled. What I can promise you is, first of all, open communication, honesty, and more of this type of discussion in the meetings where we can bring up issues and explain them to you, because I think that that's very, very critical. The other thing is, like I just did, I gave you my email so that you will have it and you can raise questions directly to me, and I can get them into the board's hands and we can get them answered, and they can respond to you in writing, you know, which is another thing. So the bottom line, folks, is that we need credibility, not just for ourselves, among ourselves here. We need credibility with the general community, okay? We need to be taken seriously by the media, and I don't know how many of you read Hector Saldaña's comment last week, you know, when he was writing about the hecklers that were heckling Lewis Black and the comedy. He made the comment that it was of the drunken Tea Party variety. That's what he said. We have got to change that perception. So that's the thing that I can promise you is openness, honesty, more involvement, giving you the issues, asking your support, because I need you to get involved in the issues. I had somebody talk to me about an issue a little while ago, and then I said, well, can you help me organize something? And they said, well, I don't know. Come on. If you're going to gripe, if you're going to talk about an issue, you got to do something. You got to be involved.
One more.
I hit it to standby instead of on. This is actually addressed to you. I know there's at least 2 people here today who this is their first Tea Party meeting because I harassed the harangan out of them. Okay? How come you never come to a Tea Party meeting? How come you never come to a Tea Party meeting? I'll bet every one of you knows at least one person who really should be here because they share our values. Who really should. I challenge you to harass that person. Harass them unmercifully, daily, to come to the next meeting.
Okay, great. March 20th, right.
Yeah, March 20th.
The next meeting is March 20th, and of course you all know where the website is,
Right.
where you can see these things.
That's important. Go on the website, take a look at it. That's where a lot of information is put out. We appreciate everyone coming here today. Sharon, you want to come up here, please? Whoop. Hold on.
Do we want to say anything about the March 20th event? What we're planning on doing, or what we're planning, what we don't?
Yeah, we don't know where.
Okay. We're planning on the 20th. We're planning on having a forum of the candidates that are running for the city offices. Okay, so that'll be your time to ask if they come. Hopefully, they will show up. That'll be your time to ask somebody like Mr. Castro, are you serious about your stand on immigration and supporting, and your anxiety about the Arizona law while all the potholes don't get, plugged here, and that kind of stuff, not just a planned idea. But anyway, that's what it's going to be. So what we will do is we will let you know where it's going to be, and hopefully that the candidates will show up, and that's when we need for you to bring your friends and for us to hold these people accountable.
There you go.
Okay?
There you go. And you might want to know, during those little informal meetings we had a lot of candidates came to those, and that was only 20, 25 people. So if the word gets out with a number of people we're turning out here, believe me, And I don't want to be derogatory to elected officials, but anytime you can get a bunch of people like this together, interested citizens that are motivated enough to come here on a Sunday afternoon and see what's going on in their country, I think you can just about guarantee you're going to get quite a few politicians show up.
I got one quick question. There's a Tea Party convention in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And I was wondering, my wife and I are going. How many people here are planning to attend, if anybody?
I'm going
It's
to.
the Tea Party
yeah,
Patriots,
It
yeah.
is, and no,
No,
we are.
it's just